Hello, I'm Chip Pickering. I'm the CEO of Encompass, and I want to welcome you to our first video conference for the campaign that we're calling BroadLand. Encompass is so excited to have launched this bipartisan broadband for all effort with Mignon, Clyburn, former commissioner of the FCC. She is a leader, a champion for consumers, a champion for competition, and a fighter for what is wrong. Today, we're going to have our first conversation around a transformative piece of legislation, the Bridge Act, introduced by Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, Senator Angus King of Maine, and Senator Rob Portman of Ohio. As we speak about the Bridge Act and the next steps on broadband infrastructure legislation, we're very proud to have two of those senators join us. But first, I want to welcome Mignon Clyburn to this very critical effort and this campaign to bring broadband and internet to all.
Thank you, Chip. The BroadLand campaign is our effort to make internet for all a reality for millions of kids, families, and small businesses. We need better broadband, and we need it now. BroadLand advocates for more competition that brings faster speeds and affordable prices. Access to broadband can truly transform communities, large and small, urban and rural. Working together with mayors and local officials, we have the opportunity to build networks of the future that support jobs of the future. So I want to thank Senators Bennet and King for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Today, we're very proud to have Senator King from Maine join former Commissioner and Acting Chair of the FCC, Mignon Clyburn. We have kicked off a campaign in support of internet and broadband for all called BroadLand. And Senator King, being from Maine, a rural state, has been a true champion for broadband and internet for every citizen in every place, in every corner of Maine, as well as the country. And so we're very glad to have him join us. He's been a champion also for the consumers and for competition, those things that Encompass and BroadLand also fight for and believe in very deeply. He's a lead sponsor in a bipartisan bill called the Bridge Act with Senator Bennet of Colorado and Republican Senator Rob Portman of Ohio. And so we want to discuss how that fits into the major agreement that was struck yesterday with the White House, leading members of the Senate. And so welcome, and Senator King, I'll start things off. How does your bill and how do you see the best way to achieve broadband deployment, internet, into the unserved and underserved parts of the country and your state of Maine?
Well, I think the first thing, Chip, that I want to comment, I want to say thank you both for the work that you're doing with the group across the country, BroadLand. It's critical. I will have a little bit of time to talk about how critical it is. But I think the really good news is that everybody's infrastructure package includes broadband. The Republicans, President Biden, our Bridge Act, all of the infrastructure discussion involved broadband. The question is, how do we do it? How do we execute it? And the Bridge Act is really based on a pretty simple principle, and that is, in this case, we think the states know best. They know what their problems are. They know where their gaps are. They know where their unserved and underserved areas are. And most states, Maine just created, for example, a new thing called the Maine Connectivity Authority, which is going to administer programs like what we hope is going to come out of this infrastructure bill. So the deal, the agreement, is for $65 billion for broadband, which is a historic investment, transformative investment. And what we're proposing in our bill is that $40 billion of that should be distributed essentially to the states, with restrictions, of course, about how it should be used. They should be building future-proof networks. They should start with unserved areas, which do exist in our country, then move to underserved areas. And also they have discretion and flexibility to deal with issues like affordability at the speeds that, as I say, will make the network future-proof. So This is a state-centric approach as opposed to a Washington-centric approach. And we think that this will get the money out faster and get it into the hands of the people that will actually be laying the fiber and building out the network. The other question is affordability. One of the things we want to at least allow for is public-private partnerships to allow for competition, because I think in the long term, the way to deal with affordability is competition. If we simply subsidize people's costs, eventually the costs are going to go up and the subsidies are not going to be that much help. So we really, I think, need to work structurally. And that's one of the aspects of the Bridge Act that I think is particularly important.
Senator, I want to speak more about the Bridge Act. You are in beautiful Maine, and you know I am going to affirm that I am from the beautiful state of South Carolina. We both know that every town, city, and state, they're different. I want to know, how does the Bridge Act provide both incentives and flexibilities to localities to encourage faster deployment?
The incentive is that the money will flow to the states through the Department of Commerce and not be subject to, you should pardon the expression, FCC control. Or
why did I know you were going to go there? Why did I know that?
You get it. You know what I'm talking about. And Department of Agriculture, but South Carolina and Maine have different issues in different regions. And even there may be different technological solutions according to the geography of a particular region. And what we found in Maine, we already, as you know, in the bill that went through in January, there was $10 billion that really has gone out to the states on this model. And we're already seeing different ways of approaching it around our state. We've got a group of little small towns that have formed a utility district. And, you know, this is very reminiscent of Roosevelt's rural electrification back in the 30s. It's really the same principle. Why don't people have service in the rural areas? Because it's not economic for the carriers, just as it wasn't economic for the electric companies in the 30s. But wisely, the federal government decided this isn't electricity is essential utility. We got to be sure everybody gets it. Then later on, we had, as you know, the universal telephone service, same idea. And this is the next step. But the Bridge Act, as I say, the fundamental premise is let's let the states decide. And you know, they can't go off and use this money for schools or highways. It's about broadband, but they'll decide how it fits best within the needs of their citizens and their state.
Senator, I want to continue, but on a broader front. We talked about our beautiful states, but other nations have set gigabit speed goals, including the UK and the EU. And we have had to take dramatic steps to compete with China when it comes to 5G. How important is U.S. leadership in broadband?
I think it's critical to the future of this country. I just sent a letter along with several of my colleagues to the administration saying that the standard should be 100 by 100. And at first, when I was talking about this with my staff, I said, well, gee, that's kind of high. But that's what I mean when I say future-proof. I don't want to rebuild the system 5 and 10 years from now. If we build to 100 standard, we're in good shape for the indefinite future. And these are really 40, 50-year assets. They're very much like roads. This is the competitive space for the 21st century. And we can't afford to have 25, 30% of our population left out. And the pandemic really underlined this problem here in Maine, and I suspect in South Carolina and other places. When the schools shut down, we had kids that couldn't connect. They had devices, but they couldn't connect. They didn't have the broadband connections. They were going down to the local McDonald's and sitting in the parking lot to do their homework. We also had seniors who couldn't connect for telehealth. Telehealth, I think, is a huge growth area in health delivery. It's more efficient. It's better for the consumers. They don't have to drive. They don't have to wait around. But telehealth doesn't work if you don't have broadband. And the final piece, of course, is working from home. During the pandemic, millions of people work from home. But what about those who couldn't? What about those who couldn't connect? They were essentially cut out of this economy and having that capability. So to me, it's schools connecting, telehealth, and working from home. This isn't a nice to have. This is a gotta have.
I appreciate that. Chip?
Senator, I think, one, you're an independent. You are in the center of the Senate, and small states and rural states have a larger influence in the Senate. Bipartisanship on telecommunications and broadband and technology really has been a hallmark and a tradition going back to the 1996 Telecommunications Act, through the wireless, through internet policy. Now, this commitment, this consensus, it seems, that is emerging in the Senate for broadband to every American. How did it come to be? How did it happen that the president could walk out with a group of senators yesterday, and the Bridge Act being a prominent part of the infrastructure agreement?
One of the keys was that several of the people that have been involved in the Bridge Act, are also involved in the bipartisan group, the so-called Gang of 20, although I guess it's now called the Gang of 21, 10 of whom were at the White House yesterday. But 3 of those people, myself, Rob Portman, and Mark Warner, have been deeply engaged in this issue since for years, but intensely on this negotiation since the winter. This has been an ongoing effort, and we've been in touch with the White House right along about this. And you're right, it is a bipartisan effort. I've been involved in something called the Rural Broadband Caucus in the Senate, and it's people like John Bozeman from Arkansas, Republican, and Tester from Montana. I mean, the states you would expect, the Dakotas, Nebraska, because this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with being sure that all of our citizens are able to take advantage of what is the fundamental enabling technology of the 21st century. I did mention Mark Warner. I think he deserves a lot of credit. He's been involved in this discussion right along, going back into the winter when we were doing the bipartisan work that preceded the American Rescue Plan. Here's something interesting, Chip. The first op-ed I wrote when I was first running for the Senate in 2012 was about broadband. And it referenced the rural electrification and said, here we are in the same place. And you know how Congress works. You can work and work and work on something for years, and all of a sudden the stars are aligned, which I think and hope they are this week, and it's going to happen. It is a transformation for this country and for particularly those areas that have been left out.
Well, we are grateful for your vision, your patience, your persistence, the ability to persuade others to join what truly is transformational. So we really celebrate the agreement that was struck yesterday, the Bridge Act, and all the principles and components and elements of what you put together with Senator Bennet and Senator Portman, and that y'all were able to form the relationships with the White House to have that really be the direction that we're now seeing the infrastructure bill and the broadband component go. So thank you for your leadership, for the vision. We look forward to continuing to support and work with you and your staff. You have a tremendous staff, many main companies that are deploying networks, work with Encompass and BroadLands. And so we're very fortunate to work with you, your staff, the companies in Maine that are deploying broadband. So we look forward to continuing that work together.
Well, Chip, I want to thank you and Mignon for the work that you're doing and for the work that BroadLand is doing. And here's my request: don't let up, because as you know, when there's a pot of money in Washington, yes, everybody tries to get a nick of it. Our position is, look, let's hang on. $40 billion is the right number. It should go to the states, and it will immediately start deploying across the country and make a real difference. So stick with us, man, and let's take this one. I think we're on about the 8-yard line. Let's get it across.
Thank you, and we will we'll get it in the end zone, and we look forward to seeing all the good results because of the vision and the work that you've done.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mignon, thank you.